I would say that everyone expected that Rogue is a huge favorite in that matchup, so I'm glad that Norarengo proved us all wrong. So yeah, they might have had to think again the tactics that they had prepared, because Norarengo wants to pick out those gunfights. So now it's, do we want to play that game or a different game? But yeah, here we have the maps. It's Bank, Border, Consulate. So on my predictions, I actually missed the Border. I had Oregon there, but otherwise the Bank and Consulate made a lot of sense.
Yeah, Border and Consulate. FaZe obviously picking Bank, Norarengo picking Border after they banned out Clubhouse and Oregon. FaZe never banned Clubhouse in Season 8, so that makes some sense. They didn't get stacks and stacks of wins on it either, but they didn't ban it. FaZe taking us to Bank, Norarengo taking us to Border. Will we reach Consulate? Well, we had a couple of 2-1s yesterday. It's not by no means been one of those finals where we've had too many 2-0s. This is a closer contest.
If we look at the bans here, like Nora banned Bank 8 times and won it 4. So the question is here, the stats we have from the APAC teams is a little bit different because they're not just Season 8 and Majors. So the question is, have they banned these against teams that they were afraid of and played it against lesser teams? This is what we hope that FaZe has figured out.
And Nora wasn't bad in any means in Bank in Paris.
No.
They had really strong showing on Bank, so same as in Sao Paulo last year, like with a different organization, but still the same players. So they are actually good in Bank.
Yep.
There they are on stage. Norarengo looking very relaxed. When I saw them earlier on, they're looking fairly chilled out. FaZe enjoying themselves, surrounded by fans, of course. The moment we left our hotel, which is literally over the road from this arena, there's people waiting outside. They figured out where we all are, and they're all sort of hanging around. Most of them, of course, FaZe Clan fans at this stage. So yeah, there's pressure on them. They really do have to deliver, and like you said, this crowd will let them know through silence when it's not going well. But then the moment FaZe get a frag, then this crowd will come back for them again. So Norarengo are not going to have a quiet time of this. They got a lot of crowd support yesterday, but they know they're not going to get it right now.
We saw it yesterday. They were down, I think it was 3-0, and they get one round, and the crowd goes insane.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a scary force for Nora as well, but we've never really seen Nora like lose face when they don't seem to get too affected.
Yeah, and if Nora takes this home, the crowd will back them up later.
I think so. You experienced that yourself, didn't you? They are sad they've lost their team, but except, you know, the team was beaten by it. So, of course, this happens at many other events. When we were in Paris, the French fans there were incredible for vitality amongst other teams. So, yes, of course, there's a home team and a home crowd, but it is something quite special here in Brazil. Interrobang and Kickstar are up first. They're going to bring you FaZe Clan against Norarengo for the grand final of Season 8.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you so much to our analysts and, of course, everybody on the stage down there. Well, the final day of Rio is here. It's been 6 months for most of these teams preparing specifically for this moment. You got the home crowd favorites in FaZe. The trophies always eluded them outside of their own country, but they're here in Rio with as good of a chance as they're going to get up against Norarengo, and it's not going to be an easy match for either of these teams.
And Nora definitely doesn't have the crowd in their corner right now, but if they do win this match, we've seen yesterday that Nora is a team that this Brazilian crowd can certainly root for. And all things considered, I think what the analysts said on the desk was absolutely accurate. Nora doesn't seem to be affected by the crowd anymore. I think, you know, they've been to so many of these events, and they've struggled to really accomplish all that they want to, and they've almost never had the crowd rooting for them. So you get that experience under your belts, and eventually you start getting used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to a couple of the players last night after this matchup was done and after our set of days were done, and they did say that this crowd plays into the way that they themselves play. It's a bit unnerving sitting in front of 10,000 people, all just waiting to hear them roar or to hear them boo, as some will do. So an absolutely incredible matchup. FaZe struggled yesterday against Mach, and a lot of people, I think, speculated that FaZe would be able to coast on through, but it wasn't in the cards. It took a lot of work for FaZe to get there. And for Norarengo, well, they struggled in the beginning against Rogue, but then seemed to find their momentum after that and carried onwards. I think both of the way that these teams play will be an incredible matchup today. Probably the most firepower that we have seen in a Pro League match in ages.
Yeah, absolutely accurate. I think the standout for both of these teams, the thing that really makes them pop is their frag potential. They're just individual gun skill. And the synergy, I think, is going to be the thing that dictates who wins and loses. Which team is going to be able to, as a unit, use that skill to their advantage. You see the bands coming out here, and some interesting ones, actually. The Hibana, pretty predictable. The Glaz makes sense on pretty much any map, I suppose. Vigil, it's a little bit different. You don't see a Vigil band very often, but on a map like Bank, I guess it's sensible. One of the better roamers out there, and this is definitely a roam-heavy map.
Yeah, Vigil's interesting. He's usually a target ban against teams. Same with what we see out of Alibi. Every now and then we'll see an Alibi ban. It's usually done against teams that you know will run Alibi a lot, and it's because there's a certain strategy around it. We've seen Alibi bans on Bank, actually, against an opponent of FaZe that we see quite regularly, Ninjas in Pajamas. Why? Because that's part of their overarching strategy. They do the same thing on Oregon. But what this means is that there will not be a Lion ban, and FaZe will waste no time picking that Lion immediately. Now, you know he likes to play shields. He's going to 6-pick off to the Montaigne. We saw him with a bit of flexibility yesterday playing the Finka pick, and it worked quite well on a variety of strategies. Didn't work so well in Clubhouse Oregon. It did pretty okay and helped FaZe mark their comeback here. And the very first round of defense for Norarengo, they're going to go downstairs. Now, also interesting to note, there's no Mira ban. So what seems to be a pattern that has emerged over these finals is that Mira, who inhabited the role of most banned defensive operator during the regular season, is going to lose that title. It looks like Echo actually is going to be one of the most banned defensive operators so far through the 4 matches we've had, and it'll be no different as he's banned yet again. Interestingly, both FaZe and Norarengo used every single one of their defensive bans to ban Echo in their last 2 matches. So somebody had to ban him, and somebody had to figure out, well, you saw FaZe there, he banned Vigil. Well, that's because FaZe is only banning Echo. Well, Norarengo banned Echo, so FaZe had an opportunity to ban someone else.
It's also quite interesting that we see Nora now trying to bring in Maestro. One thing to note is that in the Nora's match yesterday, they didn't have Maestro ban 2 of the 3 maps, and still, Nora didn't really bring that LMG-equipped defender very much. So they've decided to bring him here, but there's no Mira. So it's always a concession of some sort, it seems, with Nora, and instead they choose to bring off operators, things like Castle, for example, who can be very useful if used correctly, but isn't, I suppose, as universally useful as an operator like Mira, for example, especially not on a basement defense such as this. Now, Waka going to be playing with the Spaz on those server stairs. That is a very powerful position that we've seen used many times before.
In a lot of regions, you'll have a Mute up there with a shotgun. You'll have an Ella up there with a shotgun. It really depends. We've seen even Jaegers up there with M870s before, and Bandits too. So it's a position that you can hold because you know that there's no bullet penetration around you. You don't have to worry about getting peeked, and that shotgun's not going to do much work. Astro expending some of his utility in order to push out Waka, and the Valkyrie inside of those CCTV stairs will fall. But there's another shotgun not too far off. Racel waiting just by that doorway, sees the blood spatter from his teammate, and just below is Papilia. Has that carbine in his hands, evading a flash is Racel, and keep in mind, that shotgun is almost an insta-kill, but the smoke is going to be in for a world of hurt. He gets concussed, flashed. You're going to have the Lion go off too and freeze him in place, and Astro just waiting to dive in. There he is, Astro looking for 2, who gets shut down from Papilia. And the Jaeger will just scoot away. 25 HP with the Montaigne not too far off. Yuna just stands like a statue in that doorway. And this is a problem for Norarengo because they've got JJ right now inside of the garage, who will have to get back to site unless he hopes that those Evil Eyes can do the trick.
Astro was lost in the clear, but you got to say that was a success for FaZe. And they have a soft wall to work against right now. No soft destruction, but they're going to plant behind the Montaigne instead, using the EE1D as cover. Cameraman through the wall will take down to Papilia, and Moringa takes out Miriu as well. JJ, the final defender, spraying, looking for some frags, but at this point, with the Montaigne right in front of him, this is an unwinnable situation. There's very little chance that he's going to be able to kill all of these attackers, but the Montagne takes a risk and loses his life because of it. Not finished off quite yet, but certainly not going to help very much in this round. Sprays from the Blackbeard do the damage, but Moringa gets the final shot, and FaZe take the first round.
The way Yuna played that was so well done. All he needed to really do was just stand in the doorway between the metal bars and not move a muscle, and that round pretty much goes in favor because the Maestro had no rotate. At least it didn't look like it. There was a hole in the wall. I don't know if they made that so that you could vault through it or not. But basically had JJ locked down at that point, and bailing out his teammates was not an option earlier on. Unfortunately for Norarengo, they fell into a very similar trap that I feel that we saw from Immortals yesterday on Bank, was that you don't load up on C4s, nor do you have a C4 available to be expended and take out anybody who goes for the plant. Now, of course, they did have one C4 on the board. It was the Valkyrie, but the Valkyrie was playing on the stairs and died early on. That's a problem, and there's going to be a course correction here from Norarengo. Number one, they're going to go up top to CEO, and number two, they're going to bring some ACOGs, and they're not going to make the mistake of foregoing a Mira up top.
Yeah, and not only was the Valkyrie the first one to die and on the stairs far from the site with that C4, you know, Smoke was the second. So you're talking about your two main denial operators no longer with you. You've got the Maestro Evil Eyes, of course, but it's definitely not as potent, especially considering they can be easily countered by Sophia Lifeline or anything of the sort. You know, we'll see, though, as Nora sets themselves up on the top floor. They have brought what we would have expected to see in the first round, as you talked about, the Mira, going to be just as potent upstairs. CEO, definitely a good site to work with, especially if you're bringing a castle and you can counter those angles all the way from the garage. Which you can see over by Banana, that's exactly what's going on with the castle barricades. Pill's going to be playing on that angle as well, using his ACOG along with Mariu. And we haven't seen I don't think we've seen a Rook-Doc combination in a good long time. It used to be meta, I mean, back in the day when you could have 5 ACOGs on a defense and it didn't have to be 3 armors. But it's not really something that shines through these days. It's a bit odd that Nora has decided to bring this lineup. Again, you know, still Maestro in play. That's a potential option, but I guess they want the other utility that these 3 armors offer.
Both of these teams were undefeated in the regular season over the last 6 months on Bank. Of course, the sample size for FaZe is lower. Norarengo was 4-0 on Bank. But I just want to take a moment to just raise 3 points with that defense. Number one, you bring one C4 and you basically waste it on the stairs. Number two, your Smoke, who is your plant denial after that C4 is gone, then also moves to the stairs. And number three, your ACOG that could possibly engage from long range that is sitting inside of garage didn't rotate at all when the call was made. All 3 of these things, a very puzzling way of dealing with it. However, FaZe wasting no time, taking a minute to just dive right into the main lobby, and actually a rare miss from Astro, as there goes the Lion, and concussive blasts from Astro, trying to pin one down. A great shot on a Papilia over top of the deployable shield. He'll thread that needle, just a tiny angle to go through. Astro adopting the super alias, and he'll pick up a second on Nawaka. FaZe just right now cannot be contained at all. Great drone work to figure out where the Rook is as well. And Mariu could be next one up, but Cameraman taking out JJ, and it's falling apart for the time being. Mariu looking through the windows over by the office, trying to get somebody down, but he'll be frozen in place as there goes a Lion charge. It'll hold everyone in. Another ping goes out, and they are just waiting for this storm.
You talked about how Astro is able to use that super tag, and he's going to get another one, certainly proving his alias true. The run-up from Raysil will net a kill onto Mav, but obviously, as I'm sure he knows, the round is over at this point. Moringa gets the final kill, and FaZe put 2 together. Something that is, I think, as clear to you guys as it is to us. Nora does not know how to deal with that Montagne. Not even slightly. They are struggling. As soon as the shield operator gets in front of them, there's really nothing that Nora can do but fall back. And as they transition, they're being fragged by Astro, who is just behind.
I don't think a single shield was brought from Rogue yesterday, and this is not something that maybe we think that Nora is capable of dealing with on an international level. Now, obviously, they played against shields in APAC, but playing well in your region does not exactly translate. And I mean, look no further than FaZe, who almost always seemingly wins in their region, but can't seem to do that outside. Well, the same can be said with Norengo and their success on Shields.
I am truly perplexed by the operator selection from Norengo right now. They're bringing the Legion, and I'm sure that, that to me just screams shield counter. Bring a Legion, you're going to do a little bit of damage. Understood. Great. But they're bringing an alibi in lieu of a Mira. What's the thought process there? You need that C4, you need that window to help you counter the pushing from server. And as FaZe has already proven to you, they are going for a very standard server push, relying on holding the server stairs when facing a shield combined with a Zofia. It's not an easy thing to do. And I feel as though Nora is making this quite a lot more difficult for themselves than it needs to be. But we'll see how it plays out this round. They're going to be going for a heavier roam strategy, as is clear from their setup, reinforcing that wall by the lone office so they can cover their retreat once they eventually commit to it down the main stairs. Lots of shutterbugs, as they're called with the elite skin, but just Valkyrie cams setting up around the top and middle floor to gather information. But the information goes both ways, it seems, as Mav drone in a perfect position to gather info on the open area.
Once again, just wanted, for those of you who didn't tune into the broadcast yesterday, you might see a GG logo down in the bottom right corner. That is Siege GG. They're doing stat tracking for us this event, and they do incredible work. Of course, Spencer his in-game alias is Splek, is the one that's doing that, and he's been an incredible help and asset so far in order to keep track of all of the different kills and headshots, operator picks, etc. And it really helps round out the broadcast, especially on the analyst desk. So just want to pay some credit to Siege GG there for all the work that they've done so far here in Rio, especially by giving you these pop-ups. Third round in a row, Astro's gonna get the lead off kill. Mariu falls, and he's gonna go for a second, but he dives on top of Papilia, and he'll get absolutely slapped, quite literally, as Papilia pulls out the knife and will take Astro down. And that's the hottest gun on FaZe Clan side of things, at least through these 2 rounds, who will have to sit on the bench for another minute and 40.
That's definitely an impact frag there for Papilia, but at the same time, you already lost Mariu. The Valkyrie, of course, already going to have that utility down, and else it will be useful, but still, a body lost, and a C4 as well. Now, Yuna clearing out the open area, using the second EE1D to do so. Waka's going to take down Moringa, so that's the Thermite gone. This roam seems to be working out pretty well for Nora, though this could still be recovered easily, considering that most of those Nora roamers are still just sticking to their positions upstairs. They could be hunted down, but FaZe Clan, I think, are a little bit distracted. You notice how they're droning out the site, and yet there are still 2 Nora roamers nowhere near the site. Raysil will be felled by Mav, though. That's a good start in this clear. Papilia takes out Mav in response, so it's a back and forth. Nora's not letting their lead slip away. JJ pushing his way up the main stairs, trying to hunt down the Montaigne, who's fighting with his teammate right now just above. Waka, though, he's going to win that one out using the shotgun pistol. Yuna goes down. Cameraman, the last attacker, will take down JJ, and he's starting to fight the meeting hall, but he's not going to check. Oh, no, a second shotgun pistol for Waka. And Nora take the round, their first one in the series.
You see that crouching from Waka being a massive issue for the Montaigne to deal with, trying to hit that bobbing, moving target. Up, down, up, down, up, down, as Waka evaded almost half of the bullets that were coming out of the pistol of the Montaigne and getting away with just 1 HP. And then the cameraman not checking next to the desk. Excellent play from Norengo, though. They played extremely aggressively and had very little coverage on site. Once again, they lost their smoke and their Valkyrie early. Those are your 2 best operators for Plant Denial when you looked at that lineup. You have an Alibi. Alibi doesn't have a C4. You know, you have an Ela. Ela doesn't have a C4. So yes, Ela can throw her mines and stop you if you're in a plant. Also knock the Montaigne out of his shield. That's valuable. But that's not the way they were playing it. They basically had a full court press. They played as aggressively as they could on defense. And FaZe just kept getting picked apart. they kept getting engaged in 1v1s, which was something that Mawkett did quite well in the matchup yesterday, was that Mawkett kept taking 1v1 fights and FaZe kept losing. It wasn't until FaZe realized, hey, let's drone them out and isolate their players playing by themselves, and then push them together, that everything started to fall into place. If Norengo can continually isolate FaZe's entry players, that's going to bode well for the Japanese team.
And I think that's one thing that really shocked me. You know, when I'm talking about this round, that last round at the beginning, I was marking on how Nora aren't bringing, you know, what you would expect when defending the basement. The reason being, you know, you want to play that meta, try to counter FaZe. And in my head, the reason I would say you want to do that is that FaZe is probably going to be decently efficient at clearing out your roamers. But no, not in that round. FaZe got discombobulated. They had no idea what was going on. They were all over the place. I mean, trying to drone the site while clearing out the roamers at a man disadvantage. A truly confusing round from FaZe, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. But it's definitely a risk. Interesting setup here from Nora. They're going to be putting some Valkyrie cams, 2 Valkyrie cams by the square skylight area, and they've put their mirror window in a position that is kind of exposed to the hallway. So I'm guessing they're relying on either A, just falling back very quickly, or B, holding that hallway, which makes sense. It's definitely not impossible to hold, but it's a different setup than what you usually see up on this top floor. Of course, they're defending the bottom floor, so this is just the roamers. They're just trying to delay as much as they can. But Yuna on that Montaigne once more, a force to be reckoned with.
As long as FaZe doesn't have Yuna pushing in all on his lonesome, then they have a lot of success with this Montaigne, especially if they can time it with the rest of this team, along with Astro's disruption and then the Lion charges. I mean, obviously you can chain all those together quite effectively, but if Yuna's going in solo, he can often be punished quite easily. Oh, JJ from below on sight will out-aim Astro. Beautiful headshot with the Vector will fell the Zofia. Round 4 will start with its very first casualty. Even though JJ losing some HP, it's an advantage in favor of Norengo.
Whether Astro's getting the kills or the deaths at the very beginning of the round, he is almost always at the very beginning. EE1D will pop off, but so does the C4 from JJ. That's what the cameras were for, and cameraman himself goes down. Yuna looking to push in, but the gas canisters are stopping him. Mav on IQ being brought in an attempt to delay the C4 for the Montaigne or the gas canisters, but it's not really helping out as much as I think FaZe wants it to. Mav's just holding the flank, waiting for his teammates to push in. And again, uncharacteristically, FaZe is struggling to clear out these roamers. Waka will finally C4 Mav through the drop down. And Yuna will refrag onto Mariu using that shield to his advantage. I think ADSing there. Surprised he got the kill. Impressive, though, that he managed it. And finally, FaZe have control of top floor, but at what cost?
I mean, you've still got your 2 exothermic charges, but being able to pull off and execute with those exothermic charges and a Montaigne is going to be very difficult. A good snipe from Yuna, but no, JJ will be there, and the pistol will miss its shots. JJ picks up his 3rd kill of the round, and from below, Thermite, a beautiful shot. Moringa eliminating Papilia down inside of the staff area, but 20 seconds left. There will be many guns looking at the limited entry points for this Thermite to go in. Surely his position has been called. We saw Moringa with a number of clutches against Mawkett yesterday, but this will be a tense moment as he runs in, doesn't make it far. Waka outduels anybody on any game, on any day of the week, even when you're firing at him, but that's an easy kill for Waka as well. Thermite was looking the other way. 2-2.
So Nora putting 2 together in response to FaZe's initial 2. And they can make this work still. The half yet to be decided. CEO will be the ground in which it is. JJ, I think something that, a trait that really stands out to me about JJ and something that he highlighted in this round is that he hits a lot of those shots that you just don't think he should be able to, especially when he's playing Mira. We saw that yesterday, we string it now today. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was JJ's a heck of a player, and the rest of the team, no slouches as well. The stats reflected that when we were looking at them heading into the match, was that there wasn't really anybody on the team who rose above another member. Obviously, there were players such as Waka and Mariu who had the highest differential. I believe Mariu had the highest on the entire team.
Yes.
But you had Papilia and Racel come alive on Coastline in that final matchup. You had JJ get, I believe it was 0 kills. I think it was the first map.
His differential wasn't great, but I think it was Wilkie who pointed out impact frags.
And impact frags are very important. Obviously, you don't get any impact frags when you have 0 frags. But you look at the other 2 map.
They won the series.
And they ended up winning the series. And the one thing with Norengo is they have a lot of depth. If one of their players goes quiet, then that's okay. You know, we said on the very first map against Rogue on Consulate that when Waka went quiet, the rest of the team did as well. But they picked it up for maps 2 and 3, and that's a lot of depth. FaZe has depth too, don't get me wrong, but ever since they made the roster change, dropping Gohan and picking up Yuna, a lot of this team has revolved around fragging power from Astro and Mav and somewhat Cameraman. If Mav or Astro goes quiet, FaZe struggles. That's what we saw in the Mocket matchup. And Moringa did an excellent job after that cheeky smoke ban on the very first map on Oregon. Did an excellent job on a fragging roll, but that was a rare instance where you banned a smoke. That doesn't happen in every single match.
One thing I really want to point out here is that FaZe Clan have been bringing the Montagne, and from my account, I think Montagne has been incredibly useful so far for FaZe. And yet, they've lost 2 rounds on attack. And I feel as though that power that the Montagne is bringing to FaZe's attack, the fact that it forced Nora to adapt, and adapt they did, but it forced them to change their strategy specifically to account for how FaZe is playing. There should be, I think, it should be a little bit more in favor of FaZe right now than it is. The fact that the scoreline is even surprises me somewhat. And if Nora is able to take this last round, I think it's a really bad start for FaZe, and they're going to have to make up for it on the second half.
Took 2 bouts of explosives just to get one thing of barbed wire that was likely used to ensnare Yuna. He'll be popped out of his fully extended shield as Astro will, for the second time on the same site, miss one of those concussive blasts.
And here's a big difference. We don't have Papilla playing in the hallway anymore. He's not leaving himself exposed, which means no early losses for Nora.
We'll check inside of the desk in a position that we have referred to as banana many times, and, well, there's nobody home. So unless FaZe is putting in great work with the drone play, Norengo is going to remain elusive, at least for the time being. They'll burn one of the EODs just to try and buy themselves some time, and Astro will narrowly miss the feet. I believe it was the castle of Racel playing just behind his barricade. You've got 2 ACOGs positioned, waiting for those long angles of FaZe Clan to engage with. And then, of course, you've got the Mira of Waka on the main stairs. A C4 will go out, and it will miss. No target at all. Papilla now waiting to try and engage with Mav. Mav does have a rifle shield mounted on top of his gun, but the MP5 is very formidable. Not enough, though. Mav will win that fight on a Papilla. A clean shot, and Mav will thank his lucky stars due to said face shield. Cameraman picking up a second kill on his own, and an EU1D will just hold Norengo down. A 5v3 advantage of FaZe, but there's not a lot of time left. This can get messy in the dying seconds. Racel comes up on a flank. He'll take one down. Will not get farther. Oh, no, Mav, a team kill after Cameraman gets one, and it'll be a 3v2. 10 seconds left. Mariu and Waka, and engaging with the Montagne. Mav will be there picking up yet another frag. Waka will need to come back to site. All he needs to do is stop that defuse. He'll be greeted by a Montagne trying to rush past the diffuser. Waka will do it. He clutches. Yuna cannot cover. What an insane play from Waka. Excellent movement, and he will secure the round for his team.
Incredible clutch for Waka. All alone against 3, and it looked lost, but he manages to pull it out. I cannot believe he was allowed to do that. Yuna, huge mistakes on the Montagne. If ever there was a moment to get ferocious, maybe drop the shield, go for a melee, that was it. 0-0-0 on the clock. He must not have noticed that the time was so scarce.
I mean, all of that started to fall apart. We just saw it. All of that started to fall apart when Mav took down Cameraman, who was holding on to that diffuser.
Yeah.
He prompted the Blackbeard to have to pick it up and shuffle inside of the site and go for the plant. That team kill doesn't happen. You end up with an even larger numbers advantage, and you have that coverage where you don't just have to stick a Montagne in a double doorway. You can't cover that whole area.
And at the very beginning, Astro missing all of his lifelines. Because those lifelines were missed, not only did it slow down your Montagne because it took down the Montagne shield, but also it slowed down the entire push because you did not know whether there was somebody in the corner or not. the proximity detonation of that lifeline is one of the most valuable parts of it as in terms of utility. It allows you to instantly drone an area without actually taking time out to drone it. And that didn't happen, so they didn't know the corner was clear, so they slowed it down. And what's one thing that really stands out to me in that round? Incredibly slow take from FaZe. I mean, they would have won that round still if they had just been a little bit more efficient on the initial take. But no, they were too methodical, and because of that, at the very end, the defuse not being planted, being stopped by Waka, ended up costing them the round. So lots of things going wrong there for FaZe Clan, and now they will transition on to defense, starting up in CEO.
A round that under almost any other circumstances should have gone in favor of the team that's planting, but yeah, Waka playing that absolutely beautifully and second-guessing himself before coming back into the site. So now we switch sides, and Norengo will be gifted the opportunity to attack. You put Mario on Ash, and scary things typically happen, and that's exactly what we're going to start with. As for FaZe, well, you look down, and they've got a lineup that doesn't really strike you as that odd for the site that you're going to defend on. You've got double C4s, you've got Plant Denial, Moringa on Smoke is pretty traditional when you don't ban it. Like I mentioned earlier, the Germans mock it, did just that yesterday. Then you got the Castle Barricades to slow everybody down. The only thing that is a little strange is that there's a Thatcher who hasn't seen a ton of play so far on this, on the previous day and on LAN. Almost odd.
Yeah, I mean, Thatcher's a very powerful operator, but I think we've been seeing more IQ even than Thatcher, I would venture a guess. But here you go, clearing out the ADSs, allowing for the EMP to go in. And in fact, I believe it was 2 EMPs that were used there to clear out 1 ADS, so that might have been a bit of a waste, but it will at least get some electronics, I'm sure. Under like a thermite charge, and yes, indeed it was on the east wall, the northeast wall from Square Skylight. We now have access to the site for Nora. They don't have a Montagne to work with. They're not bringing him like FaZe Clan did, but they do have their raw fragging capabilities that we have seen Nora highlight time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, they've opened up the wall of CEO inside of A as well. That's going to cause a lot of discomfort for FaZe, and they force them back, as you can see their position right now. This is very typical FaZe. They've got 3 people playing off-site with a minute to go, and they might just stick down there the entire time. Yuna inside of the long table conference room is going to be playing both of those mirrors, just trying to keep as much information as possible. He's got the solid wall next to him, so he doesn't need to worry about being pushed from Waka, who's burned both of his frag grenades earlier as well.
One thing that really worries me is that, you know, despite Nora not knowing it, JJ could easily right now just walk into the site and plant. The mirror window probably has line of sight, but would not be able to shoot through the actual bomb itself. The A bomb will provide cover, as will the smokes.
And I don't know if Norengo is aware of where the members of FaZe are. Mab getting calls. There's a C4 from Yuna. Great toss. Mariu sprays down cameraman. Astra trades it off the Jaeger. It's not going to be found. It picks up his second on the Papilia. FaZe with a rally that will put Norengo on their heels with 15 seconds to go. They will have to rappel in and fetch that diffuser, but Waka will be denied. Moringa is there, and then Yuna finishing it off as he started things. FaZe will refine their footing, gain that momentum back, and tie it up 3-3.
So it all went wrong there for Norengo. They had everything set up properly, but we're not watching the right angles at the right time, allowing the Mira to rotate from meeting into electrical, which enabled the C4 to be tossed. And then following that, Astro just walking down the main hallway, getting 2 frags on the flank. It needs to be a flank watch. There needs to be somebody to watch Yuna on this push that which was just highlighted for you. Mario did take down cameraman and the flank, but it just wasn't enough because here you go. There's Astro. Just, I think, a very shocking round from Nora. They seemed to not have a firm grasp when they committed to the push, and maybe, just maybe, the call was a little too early and they needed more time to set themselves up, because I mean, in Mario's case, it looked like he was still getting into position by the main hallway.
Yeah, there was not a lot of time there, and I'm a bit surprised at the way that Norengo played that. So they used the 2 EMPs poorly to burn an ADS.
True.
That EMP can get you a lot more value. I mean, but if you looked at FaZe Clan's lineup, they didn't really have anything that needed to be burned by ADSs, let's be honest, or burned by the EMPs. They had what? They had the 3 ADSs, then they had a Castle, then they had a Mira, then they had a Valkyrie, and then they had a Smoke. Outside of Evil Eye cams, which typically EMPs will just disable, they're not going to break and you need to shoot them anyway. Thatcher isn't going to get a lot of usage, and I think Norengo understands that. They've subbed off of the Thatcher. They'll go with the Lion instead. It's a smart move for Norengo. But then immediately, the first Jackal ping comes out, and it's a bit of a mistime from Norengo. Not even a cooked grenade from Waka. He just tosses in both of those frags without much consideration, and they don't find any targets. No damage is done. FaZe manages to evacuate the site, and now you've just taken 2 frag grenades that could have so much value when you're trying to go for your execute, and you've wasted them early on. That was a mistake. With the Lion, I think they'll gain a bit more usage out of the rest of this lineup because it will enable Mariu and the rest of the team to frag better, as obviously Lion will paralyze you and keep you in position.
Yep, that red light really is incredibly powerful. Has been for a long time. But again, you know, we got to go back to the fact that he wasn't banned. Just something a little bit odd. You don't see every day. But given who was banned, Hibana on bank makes sense. Glaz makes sense anywhere, pretty much the same as Lion. Now, Nora pushing their way into the top floor, and it doesn't seem like FaZe is looking to contend the top floor at all. They're just playing primarily downstairs. Pretty smart call, I would say, considering how efficient Nora was at clearing out the roamers from Rogue yesterday. Because I think one of the things that we touched on, Rogue, every time they had somebody roaming, Nora shuts him down, just wins that fight, and those roamers accomplish nothing. And FaZe playing safe in sight on defense, I think it screams study, and it's definitely the right call.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the way that the bans work, too, you mentioned Lion here. Norengo has banned Glaz and Echo every single game they've played. They're now 4 for 4 on those 2 bans. FaZe banned Lion twice, and Rogue banned Lion every single time. So Norengo didn't have to deal with Lion whatsoever against Rogue. And then when you look at this match in particular, because FaZe typically has banned Hibana on bank, which they did against Mawkit, you're kind of pinched as FaZe. You're going to ban Hibana. That leaves Lion open, and then Norengo always banning Glaz. That's what allowed the operator to reign here. So Norengo taking control of the hatches from above. Of course, with no Hibana, you might need to bring a Maverick. Norengo doesn't have that. We saw some teams that run Maverick here just to try and get a secondary hard breacher. Oh, that's a great grenade here, and it'll get it. Waka dumps it down, perfectly placed, and Moringa cannot escape that explosive toss. That'll eliminate the smoke, and plant denial will be at least reduced for the time being. But in typical fashion, there's going to be a pulse playing inside of the vault, just giving all the information that is needed. Yuna lying below with a C4 in hand, and that could possibly do some good work. Yuna will survive a secondary frag grenade, and that will be it for the explosives from Norengo.
Well, still plenty of explosives in hand for FaZe, though. As you stated, Waka has pushed his way in to cover the plant, but it's not going to happen. Camera eliminates him, and Yuna gets the C4 into JJ, denying the initial plant. Astro also takes down Papilla, so it's all up to Mariu and Ray. Ray's going to get 2, but Astro 1 more for him onto Mariu from the entry. JJ a Claymore kill. Now it's a 1 versus 1. And Ray is going to go for the defuse plant. He doesn't have a choice. Mav has the round in hand, and he will taunt it, taking it easily, all thanks to time.
That Claymore almost saving the round for Norengo, and I can imagine that there's a lot of relief right now on that FaZe bench. That went from a 2v1. That's scary if you're a FaZe fan and the way that that works out. Overall, an excellent start for Norengo. They seem to have so much going in their favor, and then FaZe, a much stronger counterpunch. Excellently timed. Once again, Astro just doing what Astro does time and time again, shutting everybody down. One of the best pure aimers in this game for the moment. And then, of course, as cameraman situated, he gets the kill onto Waka, which allows Yuna to toss out the C4.
Absolutely. Now, Teller's defense for FaZe. The site has yet to be touched by the Brazilians, but still formidable one. It started with CEO, that went great. Basement, just as well. Something that you noted is that very typical what FaZe brought out, plenty of counter plant. The C4, the Evil Eyes, you know, everything that was really available, they had it available with the gas canisters and all that. atypical for Nora. Nora has been, when they were on defense of the basement especially, they have been straying away from that mentality. And one time it did work for them. They did manage to win a single basement defense. In fact, it was the first round that they actually won, but it was because they were roaming heavily. So there is, I think, a stark contrast between these two teams, and that's something that makes this match even more interesting and exciting. Typical Mira window setup here from FaZe, both in Meeting Hall, just giving yourself that little southeast corner of that Meeting Hall to look towards the main hallway. And Electrical, lots of potential for denial of the push from Square Skylight. But Nora seems keen in pushing from elsewhere.
This sounded like a mag dump from Ray as he was on rappel just by the front door, and Waka with a toss onto the castle barricade, manages to blow it open. Once again using one of those frag grenades. And
was it a castle barricade?
It honestly, I'm second guessing myself. It looked like a normal barricade. From my perspective, it looked like a normal barricade.
I think it was a normal barricade. Usually you get the red ring, so I'm curious that he used the nade there.
I mean, I'm not entirely certain. From my perspective, I wanted to say castle barricade because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that you're not going to probably nade just a standard barricade when you can just shoot it, unless you're expecting somebody to possibly be there and jump out on you. I'm not sure. But here you have the castle playing close, and there's Waka. He's going to take out a castle barricade. This one we know for sure was indeed a castle barricade.
Yes.
It will be the protection that cameraman was sitting behind, who will now go prone, and look at that. He's going to be marked down, and cameraman will flee, and Waka coming so close. He's going to do a tiny bit of damage to Castle, but he will seek the protection of that impregnable wall. He'll hit the deck, and now, because he's in there, it's going to force Astro off. Both the exothermic charges used upstairs. This is not a CEO take. They're taking CEO, but the site is below, down on Tellers and Archives. First E1D will be used with Papilia in sight, and you can see Yuta's going to get finished off. Mario doing exactly what you expect him to do, and Waka grabbing cameraman, trying to keep this even. Mario felled by Maringo. Oh, a second from the smoke inside of the site. Absolutely uncontested. JJ takes Mad down. Super Astro living up to his name as Ray falls, and now Astro trying to get back to site. Waka is above. He'll have to give some covering fire for JJ. The Thermite holding on to that diffuser.
So, 3 loss for both sides, but upstairs control in favor of Nora. Astro's pushing up. He wants to contest this. It's very dangerous, but from below, Moringa takes down Waka, leaving just JJ. And he knows where the smoke is playing. He can come in here with a little bit of information, but the gas canisters are hurting his ingress, and Astro will shut him down. FaZe take the round and put us to match point.
Just a good volley there, and I think that what we're seeing out of the Lion play from Nora Rengo, at least so far, is that they frag very well with Lion in the cage. They don't need a Lion for the way that they play. Their aggressiveness, their ability to entry so successfully, they could just bulldoze their way in and smash through Rogue and consistently win. Now, I mean, yesterday we may have said that a part of it was that some players might have been missing shots that were needed to be made to stop them, and I mean that was on both sides of the team. Both of these teams are so accurate today, and we're not seeing any major whiffs. We're not seeing any executions that are being done because somebody didn't line up their shots first and foremost.
I think that's really one of the best things about this match so far, is it just seems like whenever someone commits to doing something, as long as it's, let's just say that they're not making any egregious mistakes, either team. And I love seeing that, because we have seen many times before where it's really not the case. There's many opportunities to mess up in this level of play.
I mean, not that you want to call out a specific person or a specific way that something happens, but the only glaring mistake that sticks in my mind was that 1v3 with Waka left.
Yeah.
Yuna pushing up into Waka rather than backing up to try and protect Mav, or even having the Thermite, who I believe was still alive if I remember correctly, also be there. Well, that was a mistake, and that cost them a round.
And to be fair, it was also off the backs. We can't place it all at Yuna's feet. It was also off the backs of many other mistakes that FaZe had made previously in the round, in terms of just time management, in terms of finding the right angles, hitting your lifeline shots. I mean, many mistakes led to that moment. But that was one round, and I think overall, if we're pointing a finger at Nora, we could say their first basement defense, their operator selection was terrible, and other than that,
yes, so, okay, that was a big mistake from Nora.
Yeah,
that first round, having the only C4 that you have on the stairs, having your smoke on the stairs, having both of them die immediately.
I feel like we're just
maybe not the best choices there.
We're just gonna find more mistakes. Let's get into the now.
They need to go to the Pain Gaming school of bring 4 C4s to the basement that we saw in Latin America this season. 4 damn C4s. And you know what? I think they got kills on at least 3 of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we've actually seen when people put an emphasis on those C4s, it usually works out for the better. 9 times out of 10, whenever you focus on it intensely.
Yeah. So, Michael, we're on match point here. Norengo's made one adjustment. Mariu off the Ash onto the Twitch. We cut some speed down for a pretty good gun. But that's really it. They're going to be bringing the same tools to this fight. Back upstairs to CEO is CCTV downstairs, and Teller's archives on that main floor are locked. Could have gone for open area, but it has not been a site that we have really seen much of this weekend. It has fallen out of favor in Pro League as well. So what you're going to do with the CEO is you're going to do exactly what JJ is doing. This is what they did on Tellers and Archives as well, which is you're going to get both of those panels that lead into the CEO office, and you're going to back up. And this isn't really going to give you that much control. All it does is push you back as a defender. And of course, you're going to sit in areas where usually you have walls that can't be shot through. Moringa, however, is very vulnerable there. He's at a wall that is totally penetrable.
I hear a lot of you guys who've been watching CG Sports for a long time wondering why is there no impact tricking over the wall to deny the thermite charges? Well, that is because Nora is so diligent on those north windows. Waka, who's been on Repel, has been doing a lot of damage from there, and he's going to take down Astro from elsewhere this time around. EE1D will detonate, and that forces Moringa to stand still, and JJ will finish him off because of that. Now, cameraman trying to push his way up, but he's lost half of his HP. Mav in the Mira corner. Yuna Mira himself will take down Papilla with a wide peek towards the square skylight.
The only worrisome issue is that cameraman is downstairs as the castle. That's not necessarily where you want to be. He will have to get back to site and assess if there's a flank watch. Now, because Norengo has the advantage, which will now grow as JJ picks up a kill. Mav is there to eliminate Waka, but Mav is alone on site. Plant going down from JJ right now. No coverage whatsoever from FaZe. Cameraman trying to get back to site. Planter successful, and FaZe Clan have their work cut out for them. It's a 3v2 with FaZe on match point. Cameraman looking to see if there's one by the bushes. Just playing behind the wall. Looks the wrong way, and he could end up paying for it. That's Mariu, who could jump on a very easy 2-kill here. The gatekeeper and the guardian of the diffuser for the time being. Mav will jump out, and it'll be cameraman first with Mav there, and Mariu, won't get that far. Mav will cut him down, and there's still 2 left, but Mav knows that he might have to go for a run out. Diffuser just under half. Time is not on his side, and Norengo in excellent position. Waiting to see if anybody on Repel. Mav will start and go for the jump out, but Raisel's there, and Norengo stays alive. Will push us to the final round of regulation, and we will once again go to match point for FaZe. This was a much needed round for Norengo.
A big part of that is how efficiently they figure out the objective and execute onto it. They knew they wanted to open up the square skylight walls, the CEO walls, as they're often referred to as, into the A-bomb site. And it was done so fast in the round. Again, the impact tricking was denied outright because of the repel from Waka on those north windows, and the cover, not just the repel, but the cover from Raisil, who's standing outside in the main street, just waiting for a run out from one of the FaZe Clan. And it didn't come because FaZe is aware of this, and they're not going to waste any lives on such a foolhardy attempt at denying that that thermite charge. But because they cannot deny the thermite charge, they have to play so much farther back in the site, and it leaves you exposed and open to the whims of Norengo, who has been using their control very well. Last time we saw Nora in that position, they died, they lost the round, and it was all thanks to UniC4. This time, UniC4 did not land where it needed to because the diffuse plant was not the main focus for Nora. They knew they needed control before they could go for that.
And one of the best things that FaZe has been doing is keeping Astro and just letting him loose and keeping him alive for the time being. Go back to the very first video, Norengo saying that they struggle with the unpredictable. When things go according to plan, they feel that that routine strongly benefits them. Well, when you have Astro, who is incredibly wild and just flies around the map, killing people as he sees fit, it's obviously been a burr under the saddle of Norengo.
Yeah.
Now, they killed Astro almost immediately the moment they got into the building, and that means that Norengo, number one, can now stick 1 of the remaining 5 on permanent flank watch. And 2, it also silences the best member of FaZe in this matchup and one of their best assets, which is the fact that Norarengo need to drone out a massive map. They need to commit somebody to flank watch when they might not have the bodies to do so. And you've got an incredible gun that will be able to just devour you if he sees an opportunity. So FaZe Clan's opportunity to lock this one out, if I can use that word again, will rest on Astro staying alive until the dying parts of this round. If he gets picked early, that will bode very well for Norarengo to send us to overtime.
You can hear the crowd trying to amp up their team, and in case you're wondering, that's FaZe Clan, Brazilian crowd, Brazilian team, and I think the favorites for a lot of people. But Nora are just potentially two minutes away from bringing this to overtime and giving themselves another chance. Well, so far, this has been a very much an even affair, though definitely favoring the defenders, however slightly favoring them. Which means FaZe Clan are in a great position to end this. I'll also say that the last time that FaZe went to the basement, they were successful. We've only seen 1 attempt from them so far, so that could change. Small sample size means it's not too reliable. A big thing to note, and as was mentioned during the ban phase, and as you can see in the top left of your screen, Hibana is banned, which means that Maverick will be brought so that more of the drop downs can be opened. But he's definitely not very efficient, and that's your plan. Drop down in server opened up, which means that server control is conceded by FaZe. The right call, as they only need to delay for 1 more minute.
And that's it. It's been 2 seconds. You've got the hatch control that you need. Waka is going to have to try and get his own hatch control underway. And there you go, seeing him expend as much of that blowtorch, breaching torch, but he doesn't have that much left, and he is in very much danger of expending all of it. Now, the last time that this attack happened from Norarengo was Mav basically quarterbacking the whole thing, playing inside of Vault, or Gold as it's better known as, just able to call all that information about the push. Norarengo might actually be out of exothermic charges, which will mean that Mav is going to be in an even better position here because he'll just continuously give this information, and Norarengo is going to have to funnel in through a tiny doorway, which means that 1C4 can collect not 1, not 2, but possibly 3 kills, depending on where they are, and those toxic babes from the smoke are going to be incredibly powerful. Only 20 seconds left. FaZe looking for an answer to put this one away and move us on to Border as our second matchup. Dying moments, everybody's still alive. We are going to witness absolute Armageddon here. Moringa diving through the smoke. He'll stop for just a second, and the killing needs to begin. He pulls out the shotgun, knowing that it's close range engagements. He'll get shut down from Mariu. Coverage as the plant goes down. Waka is also there, but Mav, the double C4! There's no coverage whatsoever, out of time! And FaZe will be 1 map away from the grand finals.
And that's what happens when you leave it to the last seconds of the round before you start planting that diffuser. I mean, we saw it before with Nora when they managed to get a clutch. Waka shooting the diffuse planter and a CEO defense and winning the round off time alone in a 1 versus 3. You just can't let it happen. You can't let the round get so close to being over, especially not in a 5 versus 5. Nora making the massive mistake of being too cautious there in that last attacking round. It will cost them the first map, but not the series.
Karma comes back in full force. Waka is able to save the round by taking out the planter upstairs in CEO, and Mav does the exact same thing, but this time, FaZe's was far more consequential. It sends us over to Border, which is Norarengo's pick, so everything went according to plan in terms of map picks. FaZe 6-4 on their map. And the most impressive part, Norarengo with 3 consecutive wins on defense. FaZe went 4-1 on that second half to put it away.
So, map number 2 is going to be Border. And we will be getting everything set up. Border as a map, if I'm not mistaken, Nora's map pick, where they want to end up. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. It's a lot more loose, and I have to say, I think not just because it is Nora's map pick, but also because of the nature of the map. From what we've been seeing for both of these teams in this LAN event, I think Nora are going to be very comfortable here. However, having said that, I think that Montagne we saw from FaZe on attack could do a lot of damage if given the opportunity to. Question is, will the Montaigne be brought? Will it be given that opportunity? Because Border as a map, it's a lot easier to shut down a Montaigne. There's just so much more vertical destruction available to you.
You look over Border, indisputably the best map of Norarengo over the last
Yeah.
year. 8 wins and 2 losses. Didn't play it against Rogue, but man, keep in mind that this was Bank was also a great map for Norarengo. They hadn't lost it, so something has already changed. But what happens through the second matchup? Bank was a big problem for a couple reasons for Norarengo. They did a couple things really well. They cleared effectively on every single site except for the basement. The basement was a huge issue for them. They waited way too long. They expended too much utility. They didn't know how to deal with Astro early on. They didn't bring enough explosives to take out those reinforced panels. And then you had Mariu covering the Thermite, which was proper, but then you're in line to get blown apart from a C4, and that's exactly what happened. And I mean, both times that CCTV was won by FaZe, it was because nobody dislodged the pulse in gold. Nobody was able to take out the C4 that was being played behind the wall, reinforcement, inside of the connector leading up to Golden Vault, red as it's called. And that was really it because there was not enough time.
And another big thing, Montaigne, again, something that Nora just couldn't deal with. Well, we'll see what all the bans play out. Looks like Lion's actually going to be gone for this one. So already a major difference from the first map, and that's going to be FaZe's ban. They don't want to deal with that a second time. Nora, on the other hand, maybe a Montaigne, probably a Glaz, as they've been banning Glaz every single series so far. And not just every single, I mean, every map. They really don't like Glaz. It's clear as day. And, you know, I understand that. Echo, as they've also been doing whenever possible. So no surprises there from Nora.
So, Norarengo with 5 Glaz and 5 Echo bans over 5 maps. FaZe with 3 Lion bans and 2 Hibana bans over 5 maps, and a Jaeger ban
So
from FaZe.
FaZe are giving us some diversity. Gotta appreciate that. Jaeger, an interesting operator, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why is Jaeger being banned, something you don't see very much. I'll tell you why. He's the only hard counter to projectiles in this entire game. Not just on defense, but just in general. He's the only person who's catching grenades, catching anything really, midair and saying no. I mean, Bandit technically can if you are really negligent, but it's not the same thing. So Jaeger being gone means that projectiles on attack are going to be so much more potent. Curiously, despite Jaeger's being banned, not going to be seeing many projectiles, at least it's not as many as you would expect being brought from Nora right now. I mean, you've got operators like Ying still in play, who in theory could be a huge driving force for the attack. But Nora's going for, I think, a little bit more of a standard lineup instead. It's going to be...
I mean, we've seen Jaeger banned on Border a couple times, especially when IQ used to have frag grenades and she was played so reliably, because the time the meta was the wall inside of Archives, you would actively bandit trick it, then you'd just toss a grenade over top of it, or you'd actively bandit trick the wall inside of Office. And then you could also toss a frag grenade over that netting, whatever you want to call it, directly into the site. One thing that you have to look at for Norarengo over Bank was their projectile usage. Outside of one really good example from Waka when he dropped that frag grenade down on Moringa, which is pretty commonplace. You drop it down, it bounces off the little cart, and it's turned sideways, and bang, it kills whoever's behind the mirror. There wasn't really much of a worry that FaZe had with projectiles on Bank. So when you look at Border, if you think that theory holds, I'm actually kind of confused as to why you would ban a Jaeger. If you think that maybe Norarengo's not the greatest with projectiles, that could possibly be an interesting, well, especially when Astro usually plays.
I think that's exactly why they banned Jaeger, because now, you know, they don't need to deal with Nora's projectiles, because they, as you said, they don't think Nora has great projectiles, And then when they go to attack, when FaZe is on attack, then they can bring the Ying. You know, they can bring all of the projectiles that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the thought process for FaZe. It is a curious ban, though, no matter how you look at it. As is that peak
play. That was
that play. Whatever.
Astro missing a lot of shots there onto the arm of Zofia, as Papilia will be able to walk away and have much time for a reset. Still 2 minutes to go in round number 1, with Raisel just watching for a rotate all the way up at the top of the skyline, looking down through the lobby. He'll move off because you don't want to hold that angle for too long. 30 seconds will pass in time. With Norengo mostly angled over on the east side, this will not be an armory take. Norengo's lining itself up for an Archives push. Mav playing Pulso effectively on Bank will do it once again here, and he's going to be below the site waiting with a C4 and a cardiac sensor.
It's curious. FaZe are nowhere near defending the B bomb site, and the thermite charge is already detonated. There's an entry into the B bomb site. FaZe are nowhere close to. Moringa, though, the only B defender, will run out and take down Mariu. His position, though, given away. Papilla's going to try and fight him, but it's not going to be an easy fight, that's for sure. He, though, wins it because Moringa is distracted by his teammate. Waka goes down in the main hallway, and from a long angle, Yuna will eliminate Papilla as he attempts to vault into offices. A second for Yuna, and the third securing the kill onto Waka. Will he get a fourth? Yes! Yuna locks it out, and FaZe take the first round.
Maestro, Maestro, Maestro. An operator uniquely situated to pull off those kind of plays with an almost endless amount of bullets and a perfect opportunity to just shred through everybody. Look at this run out from Moringa. Looking for a second, but out of ammo and detected. The small magazine of the SMG-11 being his undoing.
Could you imagine if he were using any gun? Imagine if he had any gun that had more than 12 bullets and at least slightly less recoil.
I'm imagining, now what?
Yeah, 3 kills instead of just the 1 on that run out. But then Yuna wouldn't have been able to get his 4K. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So Yuna is obviously imagining that it stays the same.
Yep. And it will stay the same. It will be an excellent defense for FaZe, but mostly off the backs of Yuna, just pushing straight into that attack. And all those open angles that the attackers themselves established, you know, opening the wall into B and pushing in through the main hallway and from Fountain, worked against Nora. So, good job there to the FaZe, seizing the opportunity.
By and large, most engagements on border tend to be quite close to one another, unless there's some destruction done on floors or walls. Case in point, Yuna was able to get the kill all the way from almost Sandwich towards the office window, which is about as long as you can get on border in an uninterrupted line of sight, outside of maybe the hallway towards east stairs from inside a CCTV.
From right underneath where you're looking and all the way to the east side of the building. That is the longest angle that you're going to see used consistently on border. You know, there's definitely some odd angles you can achieve, but just a little bit different.
Yeah, and I mean, he took full advantage of that by being able to fight from such a great distance. The opposite of Bank, which is a map that has many, many instances of long-range engagements.
Well, thanks to Siege GG, as you can see, Jaeger was only banned 3.6% of the time in Season 8. That is not a lot, all things considered, and that's why it's somewhat shocking to see here from FaZe. Although, based on what you were saying earlier, and I totally agree with this, you know, FaZe doesn't really have a lot of respect for Nora's projectile play, and you know, the fact that Nora's not bringing Ying, as an example, when Ying's available, you know, that means that they don't necessarily want to lean into those projectiles too much. So it makes sense for me from FaZe. It's definitely a targeted ban, and I want to see, more than anything, I want to see how it's going to work for FaZe once FaZe transitions onto attack, because they won't have to deal with the Jaeger, and of course that's why they banned it.
Yeah. So I mean, I absolutely agree with that, and it's they're likely going to take full advantage of that. It might have just been a ban so they don't have to deal with it. You see, we do have a lot of targeted bans where it's you ban something that you know that your opponents are good with, right? So,
I mean, but of course, Jaeger's just one of those operators that's just always useful. Ooh, that's a great impact there from Astro. He's going to take out a lot of, well, all of that Excaros, actually. -1 for Mario, and the mirror window will still be alive. Now, this is interesting. FaZe are roaming upstairs, and they've stacked all of those mirror windows facing towards the armory wall. If Nora reads this, they might just be able to adjust the attack a little bit and completely avoid this entire defensive setup. They have control of archives right now. Nora have the control they need to go for an A-side attack horizontally, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing now.
Norengo not wasting as much time now as there's only a minute left, and their focus will shift towards the bathroom and the east side of ventilation and workshop, more specifically the workshop wall that you will see that is connected to the bathroom. As long as Mario can stay alive, it's gonna set Norengo up in a good position. Mav loses his head to Waka, and a great play, and cameraman will refrag and silence Waka, who's moved onto the Ash. Super Astro jumping in to take out Mario, and it's 2 for FaZe as Astro still positioned inside of Customs. He's gonna hit the cloaking device and go for a rotate and just narrowly evade what is surely a much longer sight that is looking his way, but a bit of a miss as Astro is now pinned down. He's gonna actually have cameraman come to the rescue. Moringa just loads up Papilio with all that buckshot. Oh. Yuna takes out Raisel, and it's a lockout for FaZe. What a round, and 2-0 here on a map that statistically is not one of FaZe's best over the last little while, and is, in fact, Nora's best.
Definitely a great start for FaZe, but we saw this from them in the previous map, and that one ended 6-4. It went the distance. So this, according to what we've seen so far, is where Nora should start their comeback. Though in that last round, I gotta be honest, it looked like Nora was in the driver's seat. It looked like they were going to be able to win it, and just out of nowhere, Camera and Astro, as you just saw in those highlights, start fragging out, and it's a complete surge. You heard it time and time again. Nora are not great at dealing with the unexpected. And right there, FaZe just flipped a switch and unexpectedly rushed straight into the Nora attack, almost as if it was a bait, a deliberate ploy to bring Nora closer to make them easier to kill. And it worked great for FaZe. So props to them. Nora, though, some really bad timing, some really poor covering of the angles there. I mean, even at the end, you saw JJ, I believe it was, on the Thatcher, watching the right angle and coming off of it at the last second. Truly unfortunate for Nora, but great job to FaZe. Now, we move to Customs, which is, I mean, less defended than it used to be when it first became popular, but it is still a viable bomb site, as all are on this map. And while I think most teams would prefer to go to Tellers, I'm not gonna say that Customs is any worse, because it's not. It's a perfectly viable site. It's just a little bit difficult to manage. Something that Tellers and Customs share is that in order to hold them, you need to hold above, and that's what FaZe will be doing here.
You have Waka back on this Ash for the second time, and with Customs, are we going to see yet another East take? Both the Norarengos attacks, at least for the time, at least for rounds 1 and 2, and trend might break on round 3, have been from the East. Waka suspects that there's a Valkyrie camera out here somewhere, trying to locate it. It's an eye test to be sure. It's the window open, Mav likely throwing one of the black eyes out somewhere to gather information. Mario's going for a plant. This is fast. 50 seconds in, Mario getting shredded. He'll get downed, and cameraman will just pounce upon him, but JJ is there to refrag, lighting up the body. This could have gone very quickly. Yuna will take out Papilia, and Norengo will lose the advantage. Astro still watching from above to give the information. Yuna, second kill. He's on fire this matchup, looking for a third, but the clock will strike midnight. JJ refragging. Still an advantage in favor of FaZe, but it's a mischaracteristic miss from Mav. So it'll put us back on 2v2. JJ's absorbed quite a lot of damage and is very low on HP. You can see it flashing in the top of your screen. Moringa positioned excellently over top of the diffuser with a shotgun. So if anybody goes to retrieve it, providing his reflexes are good enough, will be almost certain death. You've still also got Astro upstairs inside of security, just watching down from the hatch, as Norengo will take some time to drone and get the information. Moringa will get spotted by JJ's drone. So that position has been found out, and they will need to rotate, and that's where Astro is now moving, and Moringa will move over to Astro's position inside of security.
Astro drops into security servers, and Raysil will be taken down, not checking the off angle. That's unfortunate. Now just one bullet is required to finish off JJ, and the round goes to FaZe. And for the first time in a while, they will put 3 together. JJ's trying to clear into CCTV. He's looking for the fight with Moringa, and he will find it, but it won't work out for him. Moringa finishes him off, and FaZe, 3 in a row.
I wonder how much of this is FaZe prepping for Border, knowing full well that this is probably one of Norengo's best maps, one of their least banned. I suspect that they've obviously done some VOD review on this, whether they were anticipating fighting Rogue or not. A lot of teams will specifically prep for maps that they don't usually have in their pool to bring them to LAN with strategies that they have saved specifically for such an occasion, because the stakes are the highest they're going to be for most of these teams. Tactical timeout is going to get called from Norengo. To the best of my knowledge, they did not call one on Bank. Now, there's no punishment for calling a tactical timeout. Every team is given 1 timeout per map. Obviously, FaZe did not take theirs in the first map either.
Yeah.
No reason for FaZe to take one so far. It's a good opportunity for Norengo.
I think this is exactly where you want to be taking a timeout. You really need to put everything you can into trying to find a way to deal with what FaZe is bringing to the table. Now, in that last round, what we saw from Nora was them, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what was Nora thinking? You know, pushing in without clearing out first. And honestly, they were just trying to find a hole. They were trying to find an opportunity that just wasn't there. And the thing about that is that the particular play that Nora brought out there is not something that you can really prep for. It's something that you are asking, you're hoping the enemy is not prepared for. And FaZe was prepared. And it's really that simple. That's why FaZe took the round. And despite the fact that Nora thrashed and struggled against that round loss, they already overextended themselves too much. They lost too much manpower, and the outcome was, I think, clear after the initial denial of the defuse plant. So, Nora down 3. They cannot win the half, but they can still salvage it. They get 2 in a row. This is not over. I mean, technically, if they still lose these 2, it's not over. But it would be very difficult to come back from a 4-1 or a 5-0.
And to be honest, the best round that Norengo put together was on this site, too, in round number 1 of the matchup. And I mean, it was Yuna who was basically able to outgun everybody from great positioning. And a big part of that was the fact that Norengo had opened up sight lines that allowed that ACOG to do the damage that it did. I mean, if you don't make those adjustments to the defense's setup, then Yuna doesn't have the opportunity to stop you. So, I mean, whether it's to the benefit of Norengo or not, it's still enabled Yuna to get those kills. So, I mean, that's something that I'm assuming they're probably going to try to fix this time around. But the East takes that we've seen from Norengo, and it was once again an East take on Customs 2. And right now, from the way that Norengo's positioning, they're over towards the east side, alleviate some pressure on Office. You got to think, what's the thought process behind not going for the Armory here? Down 3-0, and this could possibly be your last crack at this site. I
mean, I get it, I guess. You know, do what you're comfortable with. I want to know where the mirror windows are, because we've been seeing a big emphasis placed on the Armory wall. So you've got one inside a small office facing towards the Armory wall, and the other one facing towards offices. So this is clearly, I think, an adjustment for FaZe. They know that they're dealing with the office take into B, and that's going to make Nora's decision even worse. But again, Astro inside of office, the first to die, and in just an odd location. C4 is destroyed by the lifeline, and JJ takes down Mav as a follow-up. Excellent job there to Nora. Mid-air getting that C4 impacting onto a wall.
Astro knew that was going to happen too. When that wall inside a break room got blown open, he knew that he was in major trouble. The SMG-11 of Moringa will not be able to kill Marius. Takes out about half of his HP and sends down one Toxic Babe, but he'll drop the buck. Great play outside over top of Vance, and Yuna's there as well. What kind of magic can Yuna make here? Replicate his success from the previous round. Mariu now have to take out the Mira window. Obviously will expose himself. Moringa, not a panic smoke necessarily, but with a minute to go, you're using utility that could be so crucial in the final seconds of the round.
Slow going here for Nora, but luckily for them, they've been efficient in their take so far and have time. Moringa will take down Mariu, but it doesn't seem that he knows he's downed his opponent, which means Mariu can be salvaged again thanks to the time. But the run out from Moringa, and he will secure Mariu. There's no one there to get a refrag, and Moringa will eat some damage on the retreat. But the firebolt might actually finish him off. No, it's just inches away. The vault from JJ, though, will take down Yuna. Moringa on low HP means it's just Cameraman, it seems, in the 1 versus 2. Moringa still has the shotgun in hand, though, and he's been landing his shots. JJ goes down. Now it's all up to Papilla, and he knows where the smoke is, but he doesn't see Cameraman, and FaZe take the round.
This is looking bad for Noringa.
Yeah.
That was a round that you know where the guy who's killing you is. They had the information on Moringa. They knew his position. There was minimal coverage. Their best coordinated effort in that entire matchup was on Astro inside of Office. They had 2 different guns trained on him as they blew open the wall inside of Office, and that was it. After that, it looked like it was a bunch of disjointed solo pushes from Noringa. The fact that you used 2 asphyxiating bolts, you have the time to aim those. You can hit that floor where the smoke is. You shot them too far. This is a team that under pressure folded in that round and basically gave it up to FaZe, and that does not speak strongly for the next 2 rounds, and this could end up going to FaZe very fast.
I mean, I called the 1 versus 2 when we had Yuna down and Moringa was very lit and Cameraman was still in play, and the reason I did that is exactly what you're talking about. I mean, Moringa's sitting in a corner. He's well known to be in that corner. He's on, anything will kill him. Breathe on him and he will die. And yet, he keeps fighting and he keeps tearing apart Noringa as they attempt to push into the B bomb site. That, to me, is shocking. And you were questioning earlier, why doesn't Nora just push to Armory? Why don't they just try taking from somewhere else? And I think, you know, Nora just is used to pushing from Office. They're very efficient at doing that. But they are not used to dealing with Moringa with a shotgun in a corner inside of Archives. And it's been causing them a lot of grief, and it prevented them from winning that round just now. So props to Moringa, but also I think, you know, commendations to you. You call it right. It should have been an Armory take. There is no way you're dealing with that smoke, clearly. So find a different solution.
And it was the exact same setup from FaZe.
Yeah. Well,
they had Moringa in the same corner. They had Yuna playing at the same half wall. They had Astro in the same room.
And they moved the mirror window towards Offices. So it was the same, but then even more emphasis onto where they knew the take was going to come from.
Same, but different.
And better.
But still same.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of same, but different, we have Caveira.
Yes.
0.9% yesterday, Michael.
I mean...
That was her pick rate through Pro League.
Cav is a...
0.9%!
She's a... Okay, she's not a useful operator, per se. She does have a shotgun, so you can construct your site. She has impact, so you can be more mobile, or use those to construct the site. The big thing that she has, of course, is that pistol that does 99 damage within a certain range. Very, very limited range. I believe it's about 5-7 meters in that, you know, region. Anyway, she's two-shotting people. And, you know, of course, it's a semi-automatic pistol, so you can fire it pretty quickly. And that's what makes her so powerful. If you put her in the right position, she can do a ton of damage. And if you get an interrogation, if the magic happens, the round is all but over at that point, and you have won it. Congratulations. But it shouldn't happen. It should never happen. Interrogations are not supposed to exist at this level of play.
Unless you're G2.
Unless you're G2, Yona specifically.
The Twitch drone from JJ will find a Miro window. You saw a black, sorry, not a black eye. I was going to say a black eye, but there's no Valkyrie on the board. You saw on Evil Eye.
Yes.
It destroyed as well from Zofia. So two very important pieces of the defense's structure that have now been removed in the first 90 seconds. The beachhead for FaZe is up top in Armory, and Astro's going to get called back to site. Mav with the ACOG will eliminate JJ. The twitch down, Papilia refrags, and Astro using preset rotate holes. The Zofia wreaking havoc, though, that's 2. And through the computer monitor, Astro will give his position away, though, and a Cav that is spotted is a particularly vulnerable operator. So, of course, Astro will try to get out of there. But look at the HP of Mario, Waka, and Papilia. That is a lot of damage that has been taken away, even though Norarengo does hold a 4v3 advantage.
This is looking good right now for FaZe, actually, despite, as you said, despite the man advantage. Because they don't have the top floor anymore, but they haven't incurred much damage because of losing that top floor as of yet. And in fact, they will be able to dish out some damage as Yuna takes down Maryu. And now it's very distinctly in FaZe's favor with only 30 seconds left. And Cav is one of the best operators to have in this situation. She can silently get behind your attackers when there's no time to watch the flank. And that's exactly what Astro is doing. Coming up to the top floor, he's looking to do some damage, and he can deny the defuse plant, but Raystill is still there, still watching the flank with only 10 seconds. The defuse is denied by Moringa, and Yuna takes down Waka. It's just Raystill, and he can't do it. FaZe take the first half, 5-0.
A momentous play and a clean sweep through their defensive half. And we speculated that this Jaeger ban was deliberately designed to make FaZe's attack rounds easier, and they might only need 1. The crowd obviously elated, and Norarengo right now needs to find something. Excellent effort from a couple individual players for Norarengo, but I am right now gobsmacked at what we're seeing here.
Yeah, FaZe absolutely dominating.
Oh my. No Jaeger on the board. 4 frag grenades, 2 smokes, a Finka and a Dokkaebi.
This is exactly what we were theorizing. The only thing missing is the game. I mean, this is FaZe leaning heavily into their operator ban, into Jaeger ban. And I don't know about you, but I think it's going to pay off. I have a strong hunch, especially on Armory, that what's about to happen is FaZe will take downstairs control. They will use Buck to open up a lot of angles, and they will nade the rest of them. And we will see absolute havoc being brought onto Nora. Smokes are probably going to cover the push in through the Armory wall. Maybe the B wall. I mean, honestly, they could push from either side. They're not limited. Based on the operator selection, they got dual hard destructors, tons of nades, as you stated, and smokes. Anything is a choice here. I mean, they could do any kind of attack they want to. But the big thing here, something to note, is that Nora is playing inside a CCTV. 75% hold. Don't see this every day. It's enabled by the mirror window that you see right in front of you right now. But it's a big risk for Nora, and especially so considering they are on match point, series point. Scary thing to do. So, Astro just laying in some fire towards offices. Those open angles are from offices, hoping that the office players can deny the push into CCTV South Door. That's an interesting setup, but because of it, Maryu will eat about half of his HP away. And that's thanks to Astro's well-placed shots. You can see that he's still choosing to play inside offices, but he will be severely weakened, and his position is known to FaZe, which means it's not going to be nearly as useful. The overheal coming out from FaZe as they start to clear out the CCTV.
It's an early boost for them, and FaZe could possibly just go for the bull rush here, but Cameraman felt immediately. Papilia is the beachhead. Oh, a second, and Waka is there. This being played perfectly from Norarengo. Has 3 kills, a jump out from Waka. He's gonna grab his second, and Mav now getting shredded. It's taken 1 minute and 15 seconds for it all to fall apart for FaZe. Mav wary of a run out towards the top of East Stairs, but he will have to watch break room, security door as well. This is going to be particularly troublesome.
Push it to East Stairs. And he will die to Papilla. That's his third, and Nora take it. All off of a CCTV hold. That 75% certainly working out. FaZe not able to figure it out. And that actually maintains a 100% win rate for the defense. Now, this is curious. It might be the case that this is simply a heavily defensive-sided matchup. Not necessarily because of the map itself, but because of the teams that are playing on this map. And I would not find that shocking, to be honest with you. If this could, in theory, go all the way to overtime, and we could win it based off the coin flip. We've seen that before. We've seen it matches where one side is just unable to win. And that could be reflected here, though it would be very impressive if Nora were able to pull that off, all things considered. That's 4 rounds in a row, or actually 5 rounds counting the one that they just won, that they will have to win in order to get overtime.
I don't have it handy with me because I got a new notebook.
Yeah?
So I don't have all my old scores, but I was going to say, has there been a match this season in Pro League with the new site rotation, the new 5-5, 5 attackers, 5 defenders, where the defense has won 100% of the rounds?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Don't want to call it without having the actual stats right.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to dive in.
Right.
And make a proclamation.
I want to say that it's likely, but not certain.
I would imagine that there must have been at least one match where the defense won 100% of the time. But that means it needs to be a 5-5, right? 5 rounds in a row, 5 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part.
We've seen those before. I mean, no draws in Pro League are not exactly uncommon, so it's possible. It's certainly possible, and I think very much likely. But we'll speculate on that later.
I mean, this matchup could be far from over.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't look likely. It looks, FaZe needs 1 round over the next 4.
Yeah, and based on that theory, though, based on the pure defense theory, I mean, it's, again, as we said, possible.
Not probable.
Not probable that this could be a comeback here.
It does nothing to do with FaZe versus Norengo. It just simply has to do with the math behind it. You gotta expect that 5-0s on one map are very rare. Two 5-0s happening in the same map, in the same matchup must be very, very rare. And like I said yesterday, I'm sure there will be a little infographic, a little pop-up.
I think that what's going to happen here is that FaZe are going to do their very best with what they have. They're also going to open up that mirror window. Great job to Astro bringing the Twitch. And what I was going to say is that if what FaZe is doing over this round, for example, doesn't work, then they could change things up. They can maybe bring a Montaigne. Remember how useful Montaigne was on Bankit? That's the second mirror window. Astro, what?
That's a freebie. Those are freebies. 2 mirror windows, Michael, and they'll open up the panel into Armory.
And there was nothing done by Nora at all to contend with that. You need to pay attention to the drones.
Small office looked empty, and Mariu was on cams. Anyway, no Jaeger, so a frag grenade's gonna get tossed up.
Big saving grace here is that, of course, the mirror windows were upstairs, and it's a downstairs defense.
Yeah, and I mean, look at all this that's being used to just try and push out the roamers. Yuna coming, just a second away from seeing the head of what appeared to be the possible bandit of Mariu from a longer range. First kill is going to go to Waka, though, and Norengo doing an excellent job. Mav will pick up his second kill of the entire game as Mariu gets felled, and while there's going to be another down as Papilla is out. And there goes a frag grenade to secure the kill. So Mav will pick up 2. He's only had 2, like I said, so far. Astro is there, and 2 members of Norengo left. Michael, Mariu, and JJ. Diffuser is down. I don't know if they know that, but excellent marks coming out from Waka's Black Eye cams, just to try and spot the remaining members of FaZe. The crowd will pick up its pace as 40 seconds will be all that could possibly separate FaZe from their very first trip. And they need 1 more kill. Mariu from above gets picked away, and JJ will need to guard against FaZe. 3v1 for the home team. A lot of patience here for JJ. He exposes his head, and it's a tussle. As the shootout, he'll have to reload, out of ammo, and no, JJ will walk away, but Yuna, the refrag, and FaZe up, as Latin America will be in the finals. FaZe a 6-1 victory, and they will play later today.
Excellent job by FaZe, and well-deserved. Nora tried oh so hard, but they just couldn't make it happen in the end. FaZe able to gain the momentum on border and completely lock it out. Seemed like quite a lot more of a one-sided match than I think most people were expecting going into this.
Absolutely. I mean, people were saying that this was going to be the toughest match of the day, that the way that Norengo played matched up so well, because Mawkit gave such a huge amount of trouble to the FaZe squad, and they played an unpredictable, loose style. They peaked when you wouldn't expect to peak. They pushed when you wouldn't expect them to push, something that Norengo did as well, and they've got excellent shots on both attack and defense. That just couldn't do it today.
Yeah, there was also a lot of people talking about how FaZe maybe hadn't had the best day yesterday, but they did win, and they made it into the semis, and now they will make it into the finals. And I think riding that momentum and using the power of the crowd, I think, able to push their way forward. Though in that match, I mean, if it all comes down to it, they just outplayed Norengo.
Well, we still have one more match for you today in Fnatic versus G2 before we have the grand finals. So, before we can get to that, you probably want to hear from the winners down on the stage. So we'll toss down to the interview and revel in FaZe's victory.
Okay, guys, you already know our first finalist here, and for the history here for the Brazilian fans, it is FaZe, the Brazilian team. I'm gonna talk a little bit here with them. E aí, molecada, vocês estão na final da Pro League, cara, como é que vocês estão se sentindo?
Cara, isso é inédito, realmente é um sonho se realizando, principalmente na frente dessa galera aí, queria sempre trazer orgulho aí pra geral do Brasil. Muito obrigado pela torcida, obrigado pela gritaria aí, é isso aí, vocês são foda, velho.
Cara, falando de emoção, agora vamos falar um pouquinho do jogo. A gente até acabou de ver os dados aí, né? Vocês já jogaram torneios similares, mas nunca passaram da fase semifinal. Astro, o que mudou no pensamento do time, o que mudou nas estratégias, o que mudou no gameplay para vocês conseguirem finalmente garantir essa tão merecida posição para disputar a final?
Acho que mudou mais o nosso pensamento coletivo, a gente pensa como uma equipe, totalmente, os 5 pensam como uma pessoa só, então isso que mudou e fez com que a gente, nossa primeira final juntos, chegasse tão longe como a gente chegou agora.
I just asked them what changed, that they got to semifinals before, but they haven't never gotten into a final. And Astor just told me that they changed their behavior in terms of working much more cohesive as a team, and that he believes that brought them to victory. Now I'm gonna go to the Jäger question. Então, galera, deixa eu perguntar um negócio pra vocês de estratégia mesmo. Não é comum ver ban de Jäger, ainda mais na situação que tava de mapa. O que fizeram vocês tomar essa decisão de banir o Jäger contra Norengo?
Bom, foi algo que a gente realmente não tinha treinado nessa season, a gente não jogou mesmo com o ban do Jäger, mas eu acho que a gente tentou trabalhar umas jogadas com granada que acabou funcionando, então por isso que a gente acabou banindo o Jäger e acho que a gente acabou levando a vantagem por causa disso.
Já que o câmera me falou de jogada de granada, o que mais teve foi C4, granada. Cara, eu arrisco dizer que da temporada toda e dos times vocês que conseguiram ter um número muito alto de, vamos falar aí, mortes explosivas, né? Vocês treinam muito essas posições? Como é que vocês planejam? Ou é ali na hora da partida que vocês decidem ir para C4?
Não, a gente consegue ver, treina com certeza as posições dos adversários, onde eles podem vir, a gente faz a C4, granada e mata, velho.
I asked them about the Jäger ban, and they told me that they were planning to go for such explosive kills. And Astro just told me, I asked them about how they practice that, and he just told me that they are focusing on seeing how the other teams behave and where they like to stay on the map, and that they focused so much and they got so many C4 and grenade kills on that because they knew where they already know, they're trying to study all the teams and their positions. Expectativas para as finais. Tem um time que vocês aí preferem para enfrentar e como que vai ser a meditação aí nas próximas horas para jogar a final?
Bom, acho que a gente tem alguma coisa entalada aqui com a G2, então a gente precisa resolver isso aqui em casa. Bom, eu acho que independente do adversário que a gente pegar, a gente vai dar o nosso máximo e o que vier, G2 ou Fnatic, a gente vai dar o 100% para tentar ganhar.
Galera, muito barulho para esses caras aqui, parabéns demais, muito obrigado. I asked them about the finals. And camera told me, yeah, we have some things to set it up with G2 and we want to set it up on the finals. And Astro told me, I don't care if it's Fnatic, if it's G2, we're gonna win. Guys, that was our interview. That was FaZe, Astro, Cameron, all of the players, and it's all back to you.
Guilherme on stage there with some grand finalists. FaZe have done it. Brushed Norarengo aside, almost 6-0 on the second map, which would have been a big surprise. 2-0 is a bit of a surprise in itself. I think we thought it would be a closer contest. FaZe take it. FaZe take a grand final spot. And G2 and Fnatic will be our next semi-final to work out who's going to face. And Wilkie, Zeronic. Okay. Maybe not kind of the bloodbath, let's all stand and just fire at each other kind of game we were expecting, and some interesting tactics. And FaZe there saying, okay, so they, like, we thought Norarengo were just going to turn up and clear a room by shooting all the bits of it where you could be. FaZe also knew where Norarengo would be. That's where they seem to be angling their prep on, is specifically positions of the opposition.
Yeah, that was especially on the border.
Yeah.
They banned the Jaeger, and so they were able to use the grenades really effectively. But I would say that in Bank, the key thing was the Montaigne.
Let's just highlight this just for one moment, sorry Wilkie, but look, this is Norarengo on stage who are packing up at their booth, and the crowd are on their feet in front of that, cheering them. They've made a lot more fans. They do it every LAN. Norarengo, they're always impressing people. Sorry, do carry on. I just didn't want us to miss the...
Yeah, on the bank. So the Montaigne was the key part of the FaZe attack, because when you have the Monty, the Nora cannot really play the playstyle, because the Monty is going in first, giving the information where the guys are, and then you just Astro came with the Monty and peeked behind the Monty all the time. So the Monty was really effectively used by FaZe.
Yeah, Norarengo just didn't know how to handle that, did they?
Well, after 2 rounds, they really started putting a fight up against the Monty, and then we saw them start struggling on basement instead, because that was the compact place where they can't go in and just pre-fire everything. You kind of have to do some setups and some executes there to get anything done, and they couldn't manage to do that. They played better on the other floors. Like the top 4 attack though, the 2 first ones with Astro and Mr. Monty in front of him there, that really put a kink in Nora's wheels, because there's no gunfight coming up.
Yeah, and then like on the basement, like Nora had a fair chance on every other bomb site except the basement. They couldn't find a way to crack the FaZe defense on the basement. But that, like, when you have the C4s, 3 C4s, false information, you kind of need the Tatzer again. The same thing we talked yesterday.
We've mentioned it 100 times on Bank. If we always see Pulse and Volt, there needs to be something to stop him. You can Capitao out the spot from the hatch to keep people from C4ing. That's one way to deal with it. You can try and block the C4 with a Monty, but the best thing you can do is still to just EMP him. Then he at least can't get the info. You might even get a C4 with it. Smoke it up, push a bit deeper into site, or start playing around with a Volt Tech instead. It's not impossible either.
Let's show you the stats from that final, courtesy of our good friends Siege.gg, who are providing them for us live throughout the whole of these Pro League finals. Waka on top for Norarengo, but Juna best there. Moringa not far behind him, only one kill on the KDs behind him. But in terms of the coast, which we haven't talked about today, very, very quickly, just to tell you what the cost is there, that KOST column. So that is a metric that Siege.gg have very cleverly worked out as a formula, which basically rewards players regardless of their role. So it's not just going to champion people who are fragging. So it depends on whether rounds you're in, whether you were killed, whether you made the objective, whether you survived, whether you were traded. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially what we're looking at here. A high coast means you were delivering for your team regardless of where, you know, your position or your role. 88% for Yuno. I think that might be the highest we've seen.
That is the highest we have seen so far in here, at least.
Yeah, certainly
like,
here.
Average player on the Pro League at the moment has around 65% cost.
Yeah.
So
that's unbelievable.
88 is quite a high.
We didn't talk about him a great deal. We were sort of thinking what Cameraman, what Moringa or Super Astro could do. But Juno's going, yeah, I'm here.
Especially in border.
Yeah.
His Maestro plays in border really had an impact. I mean, in Astro, still entry fragging like a madman, especially on Bank. But Yuna had Was it a 4K on?
Yeah, with Maestro on the first round of Border.
Yep.
Then like both times, FaZe defended the Armory. Nora should have won the round.
Yeah.
And both of those times, they just got shut down by FaZe time. First time it was the Maestro, second time it was more team effort, but still like, there's those little mistakes. You cannot let Maestro to 4K you. You cannot let the smoke rush out of the archives 2 times, similar way, get the kills, and escape back. Like, you just have to deal with that.
Yeah, but credit to Nora with reading the Jaeger ban. The first round they played extremely split out, which means you don't get the same value for nades as you otherwise would. They played the big CC hold. We even saw them when they were playing, that was FaZe, when they were playing customs, they were playing fully spread out, and Nora went for a really fast take to try and see if they could get a plant off. FaZe was just kind of ready for it, had everything set up to stop that, and FaZe took it.
They did. Let's show you the bracket. Let's get it all confirmed down in writing and legal and correct and contractual and all of those kind of things. Or just show you a nice picture. FaZe, after beating their Mockit opponents 2-1 in the quarterfinal, Norengo fall 2-0. So they're our first finalists. And coming up next, it's the number 2 seed out of APAC, Fnatic. 4 of them who are here, plus Dizzle, their coach, standing in for Magnet. And they have a job to do, and it's G2 Esports. But remember, this Magnet missing team of Fnatic do not care who they are here to face. They're pleased they made it to land. They know they were dealt this unlucky card by Magnet being hospitalized, who is better and getting better. And again, our love to you, Magnet. What's going to happen? This one, yeah, honestly, we don't know. I'll tell you what, we'll go to a break, then we'll come back for that semi-final and we'll pretend we do know. We don't.